Welcome back to JForrest English. I'm Jennifer, and today we're going to read a news article together so you can improve your fluency in English. Let's get started. First, I'll read the headline. Man who likely stole ex's cryptocurrency found not guilty, but judge urges him to help recover funds. First, let's talk about exes. A man's ex is the romantic partner he is no longer with, but was previously with. This is short form for either ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, or of course you can have an ex-wife or an ex-husband. Now, all of these start with ex. So instead of saying my ex-girlfriend, you can just simply shorten it and say my ex. Let's take a look at this example. I ran into my ex at the mall. When you run into someone, run is simply in the past simple. When you run into someone, this is when you see someone unexpectedly. So I did not plan to see my ex at the mall. It was a surprise. I ran into my ex at the mall. Now, obviously, that can be an awkward situation, potentially. Maybe even more awkward if you say, and I was with my new boyfriend. Because remember, your ex is the previous romantic relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean the immediate previous. It could have been 3 boyfriends or 3 girlfriends ago. It is just a previous romantic relationship. So this man was accused of stealing his ex-girlfriend's cryptocurrency, so cybercurrency. Now notice how it says who likely stole. Likely is an adverb of probability, and it is when something is more certain than not certain, but it's still not 100% certain. So there is some doubt in it. To me, likely sounds about 80% certain. It's more certain than uncertain. So a man who likely stole ex's, notice that pronunciation, ex's cryptocurrency. It's possessive because the cryptocurrency belongs to his ex. Stole ex's cryptocurrency, found not guilty. But judge urges him to help recover funds. To urge someone. When you urge someone to do something, you simply strongly suggest. So a judge has the authority to order you to do something. But to say the judge urged him, it isn't an order. It's not something he must do. He is required by law to do. It is a suggestion, but it's a strong suggestion. For example, my teacher urged me to find a speaking partner so I can practice my public speaking skills. This is something I always urge my students to do. Notice that sentence structure. You urge, this is the verb, to urge, someone, and then infinitive, to do something. That's the sentence structure. The judge urged him to do, to help something, to help recover funds. To recover funds means to get the funds back. When you recover something, it means you get it back. I wrote that as a note for you. And don't worry about writing this down because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. And you can look in the description of the video for the link to download the free PDF. Let's continue. A man accused of stealing thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency from an ex-girlfriend. So this is basically what they said at the title, but notice here they used ex-girlfriend instead of just ex. And also notice how they have the article in front of man, a man. But here they just started with man. In the titles of articles, they want to keep it as short as possible, so they will omit words that are grammatically required. In this case, they omitted the article. The article "a" is required in front of man grammatically, but because it is the title of an article, the headline, it's acceptable to do. But you should include the article because it is required. A man accused of stealing thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency from an ex-girlfriend, an ex, likely did it. We already know what this means. There's an 80% chance, but that also means on the flip side, on the opposite side, the flip side, there's also a 20% chance he didn't do it. Likely did it, according to a BC judge. BC stands for British Columbia, which is a province in Canada. So this judge is located in British Columbia, which is shortened to BC. But the challenges of tracking those virtual coins mean he has avoided a conviction. A conviction is when a judge or a court officially says you're guilty. That means you've been convicted of a crime. So to be convicted, that's the verb form, and then conviction is the noun. Here's an example. He was convicted of stealing his ex's car. So he received the conviction. Somebody said, the judge said, you're guilty of stealing your ex's car. So to be convicted, and then this is a completed past action, so I conjugate my verb to be. He was convicted, and you're convicted of something. Now, because of is a preposition, the verb is in the gerund form. Speaking of gerund verbs, we also have the verb avoid, which is a gerund verb. A noun follows it in this example. He has avoided a conviction. If we used the verb form, it would be he has avoided. Do you know what we could say? He has avoided being convicted. Because the verb is to be convicted, ed on convicted, our verb is be, and because avoid is a gerund verb, the verb that follows it is going to be in the ing form. So you could also say he has avoided being convicted, or you can use the noun conviction. Let's continue. Though Orion Alexander Holtby was found not guilty. So this is the name of the man who was accused of stealing his ex's cryptocurrency, Orion Alexander Holtby. Though Orion Alexander Holtby was found not guilty, the judge said, you didn't do it, of fraud and theft, BC Supreme Court Justice Ward Branch urged him to find. Remember, you urge someone to do something. Urged him in the past simple. Listen to my pronunciation. Urged. So it ends on a very soft D sound. Let me write that for you so you remember. Urged. Urged him. Ward Branch urged him to find a way to help the alleged victim. The alleged victim, who is that? That's Holtby's ex-girlfriend. The word alleged means that some people say this. Some people say that she's a victim, but it has not been officially proven. So that's why she's just an alleged victim. There isn't enough proof to say that she is, in fact, a victim. And same thing with the pronunciation. Notice this, alleged victim. To help the alleged victim reclaim her digital investment. Reclaim is the same as recover that we saw in the headline. So again, it simply means to get the funds back, to reclaim her investment, to get her investment back. Reclaim her digital investment valued at about $92,000 in March 2021. The judge explained the Crown hadn't convinced him. The Crown represents the people who allege that Holtby stole the money. That group of people would be known as the Crown. The judge explained the Crown hadn't convinced him being the judge. The judge explained the Crown hadn't convinced him beyond a reasonable doubt that Joelle Oman, this is the ex-girlfriend, that Joelle Oman's cryptocurrency had been stolen at all. So this is interesting because the judge isn't convinced. When you're convinced, it means that you accept something as factual or accept something as the truth. But the judge hasn't been convinced that the money is missing, that the money, the cryptocurrency just represents money, that the money had been stolen. And notice they use the past perfect, had been stolen. So here the sentence structure is to be stolen. So then we take our verb be and we put that in the past perfect, had been stolen, because a past perfect is a past action before another past action. So first the money is stolen, then the ex-girlfriend goes to the police and says, my ex-boyfriend stole my cryptocurrency. And then the Crown takes this to the court to try to convict the ex-boyfriend of this crime. So the fact that it had been stolen is a past before another past action. Here's an example that clearly shows the sequence of events. We had gotten married before we moved in together. So we have two past actions. This action happened first. It's the older action, so it's in the past perfect. Now, we had gotten married. The verb is to get married. So if you see married as an ED and you're wondering why, that's the expression to get married. So I keep married as an ED verb. I take my main verb get and I conjugate that as the past perfect. And then before we moved in together, this is also in the past, but it's more recent and it's the past simple. So this is the past simple here. Past simple. Let's continue. Were this a civil matter, I would most likely have found you liable to the plaintiff. Notice this conditional structure. Were this a civil matter? You may be more comfortable hearing it as an if statement, which is fine. You can absolutely say, if this were a civil matter. And to be honest, it is more common to use if statements. If this were a civil matter, notice the slight difference here. Were this a civil matter? And this is a conditional because this is hypothetical. This isn't the reality of the situation. But notice the judge is still saying, I would most likely. Well, now because he said most likely, I might increase the probability to 85% or 90%, because before it was I would likely. Now it's most likely. So maybe 85%, maybe 90% as well. More than likely. And here, found you liable to the plaintiff. Liable is a legal term that simply means responsible, but legally responsible. Legally responsible. So companies, for example, are liable for the products they sell. They're legally responsible for them. Parents are liable for their children. They're legally responsible for the children as well. So found you liable to the plaintiff simply means that you would be legally responsible to the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the ex-girlfriend. However, this is a criminal matter with a far more demanding burden. So suggesting that because it's a criminal matter, the amount of evidence you need to provide is a lot higher compared to a civil matter. The decision highlights how the criminal justice system is struggling to address crime in the cryptocurrency world. Now, notice here, struggle to do something. Just make a note of this sentence structure. Struggle to do something. Where high-profile frauds, like those committed by the founder of the Canadian exchange Quadriga CX, have cost investors millions of dollars. Here, a high-profile fraud. The adjective high profile simply means one that attracts a lot of attention. So we could say that this legal case was a high profile case. It attracted a lot of attention. Sean Tweed, a cryptocurrency investigator, said these crimes are both harder and easier to investigate than traditional theft and fraud. The issue is that the blockchain doesn't provide personal identifying information, so you can't decipher who specifically owns coins. Decipher is a verb, and it's used to say that you can discover the meaning of something. So here, you can't decipher who specifically owns the coins. So you can't understand who owns the coins because maybe the platform they use to store the coins, to keep the coins, is really difficult because it doesn't have the personal identifying information. It's in this blockchain, which can be really difficult to decipher, to understand the meaning of this blockchain, the cryptocurrency, where the coins actually are. Another example is, can you help me decipher this contract? Let's say you were starting with a company and they gave you this contract to sign, but contracts are generally written in a confusing way, even for native speakers. They use a lot of legal terminology that the average person does not understand. So maybe you ask a friend who's a lawyer to help you decipher the contract, to understand, okay, I understand these words, but what does it mean? Will I be liable for something? Liable, remember, means legally responsible. If you sign a contract, you might be liable for something because a contract is legally binding. So it's important that you decipher the contract fully so you know if you're liable. Let's continue. The judgment makes it clear the truth of the matter has been difficult to sort out. Let's take a look at sort out. When you sort something out, it means that you successfully solve a problem or a difficult situation. So they're saying that cryptocurrency has been difficult to sort out. It's been difficult to solve the problems related to it. Holtby, this was the man accused of stealing the cryptocurrency from his ex. Holtby did not testify. When you testify, it's when you appear in court and are asked questions by the lawyer and the judge. And usually it's in front of an audience, in front of a jury. That's to testify. So Holtby did not testify. And the judge said, Oman, the ex-girlfriend who lost the cryptocurrency, Oman was careless with evidence. So you don't want to be careless with evidence. When you're careless, that's the opposite of careful. So you're not taking a lot of measures to protect that evidence. So the opposite of careful. Careful, careless. Oman was careless with evidence, raising concerns about her credibility. One's credibility, it's similar to their reputation. If someone is credible, it means they're someone that you trust. They have shown you that they are deserving of respect and trust. But here, there were concerns about her credibility, suggesting that she was less credible, so less likely that you will trust what she says or respect her. And notice this sentence structure here, you raise concerns, which is another way of saying you make concerns known. You raise concerns. The judge raised concerns about her credibility. In general, Tweed says some police departments still don't have the training or software to properly investigate crypto crimes. Crypto is the short form of cryptocurrency. Crypto crimes, crimes related to cryptocurrency. Investigate crypto crimes, but he has seen. Now, the contracted form with an S, it can be the verb to be. For example, he's happy. So he is happy. He's seen. Now, in this case, I know it cannot be the verb to be because he is seen. It doesn't really make sense. It's not grammatical. So it has to be the verb has. He has seen. And this is the present perfect. He has, apologies, this should be has, not had. He has seen big improvements in the last few years. And that's the end of the article. So what I'll do now is I'll go and read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Man who likely stole ex's cryptocurrency found not guilty, but judge urges him to help recover funds. A man accused of stealing thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency from an ex-girlfriend likely did it, according to a BC judge. But the challenges of tracking those virtual coins mean he has avoided a conviction. Though Orion Alexander Holtby was found not guilty of fraud and theft, BC Supreme Court Justice Ward Branch urged him to find a way to help the alleged victim reclaim her digital investment, valued at about $92,000 in March 2021. The judge explained the Crown hadn't convinced him beyond a reasonable doubt that Joel Oman's cryptocurrency had been stolen at all. Were this a civil matter, I would most likely have found you liable to the plaintiff. However, this is a criminal matter with a far more demanding burden, Branch said. The decision highlights how the criminal justice system is struggling to address crime in the cryptocurrency world, where high-profile frauds like those committed by the founder of the Canadian exchange, Quadriga CX, have cost investors millions of dollars. Sean Tweed, a cryptocurrency investigator, said these crimes are both harder and easier to investigate than traditional theft and fraud. The issue is that the blockchain doesn't provide personal identifying information, so you can't decipher who specifically owns coins. The judgment makes it clear the truth of the matter has been difficult to sort out. Holtby did not testify, and the judge said Oman was careless with evidence, raising concerns about her credibility. In general, Tweed says some police departments still don't have the training or software to properly investigate crypto crimes, but he's seen big improvements in the last few years.
So did you like this lesson? Would you like me to make more Learn English with the News lessons? If so, then put yes, yes, yes in the comments so I know that you like this lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can download it from my website right here or look for the link in the description. And why don't you get started with your next lesson right now?